Hello and welcome to Ghost in the Magazine. I'm Jay,
And I'm Elle.
and this is the start of Xeno-month. Throughout June, we're going to be covering in chronological order some of the Alien films, since I wasn't allowed to be on the first one when it first came out with Stefan and Gabe.
Hmm.
So we're talking about Prometheus today. Elle,
Yes.
this was your first time watching Prometheus, right?
Yes, it was.
How do you feel about it?
Very
Just
confused.
generally.
Just
Confused.
confused.
Okay, that's a good start. Um, so Prometheus takes place 50 or so years before the first Alien film.
Mm.
And in it we see like all the so we find these guys, the engineers, your smooth friend there. Humans find them and apparently they made us. Uh, in the original script, what made what made them want to kill us was they sent one of their guys down to see us um, 2,000 years ago, and we crucified him. That's right. He was Jesus. Jesus was an engineer.
That is a twist similar to Dracula 2000 when Judas Iscariot is Dracula. It's like the same level of cheesy.
Hmm. But like it's interesting that we have like these unknown god figures almost that we only see like snippets of. Like
Hmm.
the what was it you said, the orgasm head explosion?
Oh God. It made a lot of sense when you explained that it probably wasn't cum because it was like being sprayed with decontamination spray, but it was very milky. It was like milkier than my serum, and
Hmm.
that looks like cum to me, and I laugh every time I put it on my face, but this
It
it
was it was a lot. Yeah.
mhm.
I didn't make that connection at all because I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be like a chest burster, but it's gonna be his
Oh,
head exploding.
there's no blood
Um,
though.
I mean, there's some gunk. After 2,000 years with your head being preserved, I think it's okay
True.
that there's no blood.
That's true.
What did you think of our cast? Did you like any particular ones or hate any particular ones except for the stupid fuckers that were approaching the vagina snake?
Oh God. That was funny. I don't know. Like you said that they were all ridiculously attractive, but like Idris Elba
Some
was
of
it
them,
for me. That was it as
it
far as
was.
like attractiveness, just none of them. The guy that was like supposed to be Data, but fucked up.
Oh, yes, yes, David.
Yeah, yeah, I just
He's a
that was
creepy. He's a
yeah.
creepy fucker.
Yeah, there were like moments where I was like kind of like, okay, I see. I feel a little compassion because they treat him like shit and
Hmm.
that's not nice, but also like why would a robot have like megalomaniacal thoughts behind it all?
Mm.
I just feel
It's
like he's not going to internalize and have human feelings about these things even though we know they're fucked up behaviorally. I just don't know
mhm.
that a robot would have that presence. It's just I don't know.
They do expand on him a bit in Alien Covenant,
Okay.
which is our next film, but you're not going to be on it.
No.
Um, because David and Shaw do get off this planet,
Mm.
and David goes on to genetically engineer the xenomorphs as we know them through like experimentation with different wildlife.
Doesn't surprise me.
So he created the xenomorphs technically, but these guys made like the biological compound that like fucks us up.
Mm.
Um, and he does become fallible, because they send another David android, or another David android with another crew shows up. So it's Michael Fassbender opposite Michael Fassbender.
Nice.
Uh, so he does get some. I think he's done a bit more justice in Alien Covenant.
Okay.
But Prometheus, I thought he was good as like he's charming. He practices the Peter O'Toole voice,
Mhm.
and then um, so there's just that right amount of like a gentleman exterior before you realize there is nothing behind it.
That's a little
He's
terrifying. Yeah.
mhm. And then realizing that Wayland is the one behind like programming his brain with his creepy feet.
Oh god, yes, that scene. Like, final boss of the old men that we've seen on this podcast, I feel.
Mhm. Of all, like the rest of this film is beautiful. Peter Wayland's makeup is like Benjamin Button-esque levels of terrible. Um, so Wayland's company does eventually get bought over once
Mhm.
him and Vickers are out of the picture, and they become the Wayland Yutani
Mhm.
corporation. So that's the one we see later on, like the W with the Y in it.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's this film tries to do a lot of stuff philosophically, I think, at least, but it doesn't. Like it poses a lot of questions, but it doesn't give us answers, and I think that's kind of the point.
Maybe you know this. I tried looking it up. I tried looking up, like, what's going on. So, we've got Smooth Boys. Those
Smooth
are the
Boys, yes.
engineers or whatever,
Yeah.
and then the are is the alien, like, the face hugger shit, like, the squid baby, is that a different species?
So my understanding of it is they made this chemical agent that like just mutates
Okay.
whenever it touches like any biological life. So whenever we first see like one of the jars like um leaking and we see earthworms there, I
Mm.
think what's happened is it touches the earthworms and that's where like the vagina snake
Oh.
came from.
Yeah.
So it's mutating a lot of our cast because it doesn't really have like a fixed thing that it does yet. It just fucks us up internally.
Okay. Alright, that makes more sense. I was very confused as to, like I was like, "Is that what the woman version of the smooth man is supposed to look like? Because that's weird."
Yeah, the squid baby.
Yeah.
Oh, I had to write a paper for this at university, and the thing that I focused on in it was the fact that so many people had so many issues with this film when it first came out in 2012 because they thought it was a pro-choice film because Shaw gets the squid baby removed, despite the fact she can't have children, and the machine says it can't perform like a cesarean. She has to like get in there and like fuck around with it until it like pulls it, and it's a squid.
It's
Like
a
what the
squid.
fuck?
It's a squid. That was, like, one of the most unbelievable scenes, I think, of the entire movie that she just, like, staples it shut, like, your uterus got pulled open, that's a muscle, and you just walk away. No, no, you're not gonna
Yeah.
walk away. I don't care if this is Star Trek medical science. That's not what's gonna happen here. Um,
Mhm.
and the squid baby thing was very why was it a squid?
Mm.
That's just how it
I mean,
affected her boyfriend? It
oh
made him, like,
well,
shoot squid sperm? Is that what
well. See, what is her boyfriend called? I completely
I
forget. But
can't remember.
that's yeah, no, squid sperm. That must be it. It's like that's what happens to like sperm that's affected by it. They become fucking like squids. It's it tries to do a lot of stuff, and people thought this was like a prequel to Alien, and it is.
Mm.
But they thought they were going to see like where xenomorphs really come from, and that doesn't get touched until like the last 5 seconds of the film when it bursts out of a smooth boy's chest.
Mhm.
Um, I really love the design of like the engineers' architecture, like their
Yeah.
ships,
Mhm.
because it's so intertwined with their culture.
Mm.
You see like even in the cargo hold with all the vases, and these are like essentially atomic bombs, like to be real. And they have a huge statue in the middle, and there's murals all around the ceiling. Like that's very cool. That's
Yeah.
something that sets them apart from humans, I think, because Vickers Vickers' little pod is very like minimalistic and like everything's smooth and shiny. But Yannick is trying to, Yannick tries to add a little bit of their culture to the ship, kind of with the Christmas tree and like his
Mm.
cigars and his little like
Concertina.
concertina. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so it's an interesting parallel in that Yannick seems to be closer to the engineers than say Vickers or Wayland are. Wayland is like the opposite of what they are almost.
That's a little interesting too, because it's like Wayland and Vickers is the blonde lady, right?
Yeah. His daughter.
Yeah. They are very like refined by capitalism and like that consumer culture, I feel like, because that's the aesthetic of that, at least, in our day. This is set way in the future,
hmm
right?
It's 2090.
So not so far in the future, but
No. Um, yeah, it's interesting because they talk so much in this film about the idea of like the creator.
Mm,
Um, and it's interesting that all the creators in this film are men. They're not women.
mm-hmm.
It's like
I like
Whalen
that.
talking about David as his son while rejecting Vickers as his daughter because she's female. It's
Mm.
a sausage fest, let's be real. Because we've got three female characters that I can think of. We got Shaw, we got Vickers, and we got Ford, who was one of the doctors.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting in terms of it's still the same message that they tried to do in Alien, where this is like a strong female character who survives everything.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very male dominant environment, and
Yeah.
it's a story about fatherhood, I think, in a sense,
Mm.
or if fathers' relations with their children or their creations.
Yeah. I do think too that Shaw is kind of the fall guy for everything. They like make her
hmm
into it because like when these smooth boys are very unpredictable and they, kill the old man, which good job, brothers, but
Whack! He hits him over the head
uh
with David's head.
yeah, when they become unpredictable, it's kind of like, well, you led us astray kind of feeling. I just feel like she was more there to be the fall person than anything, and they didn't really give a shit what happened to her in the long run
hmm
either. Like,
No, no, they really didn't. It's an anti-capitalist statement, I think. Like Whalen's able to fund this whole project because he owns that company.
mm-hmm,
They're shitting not only on like the engineers' culture, a new planet. Let's be real. Like this is supposed to be like a story from our late history. Like they're shitting on our culture, the engineers' culture, but also
mm-hmm,
science as well.
mm-hmm.
Capitalism doesn't give a fuck. That's the story here.
Yeah, well, yeah. Another thing about the engineers, like architecture and stuff, it reminded me a lot of Lovecraft. And particularly what I thought of is in At the Mountains of Madness, when
Mhm.
they find that like hidden city, the way that it was described to me in the book, it looked a lot in my mind like this spaceship did, which was really cool.
Mhm. Whenever the goo touches like the humans, they don't get like all what we know of the aliens, like H.L. Geiger's, like the exoskeleton. That doesn't happen until the end, whenever it bursts out of Skinny or Smooth Boy's chest.
Smooth boy, yeah.
And look at his chest there.
Me.
He's got an exoskeleton.
Ah, he does. He's like a
hmm
bug, like Renfield eats. No, there's just a big bug theme here because, like, there's Renfield, and then in Dracula, Argento's Dracula, when he becomes
There
a,
was, yeah.
yep,
Yeah, we've been on a roll with bugs.
we have.
He's a roly poly.
Yes, that is what he looks like. Um, I don't know. I feel like it's like one of those things where you watch the movie and it was long. It was long. I'll give it
Yeah,
that.
it
It
was. It
was
was
too long.
yeah. Yeah, that was an issue. The
But
pacing was really strange as well because
I
they're in the ship, they're out of the ship, they're in the ship again.
yeah, and I am probably, like I couldn't my attention span wavered a little bit, and I was playing a phone
Mhm.
game during part of it, not gonna lie. But, like, I just feel this is like so many movies that I've watched recently, which, like, Renfield, exactly the same thing. It's like there were so many elements to it that were really interesting that I liked and that were working, but in the end, it didn't come together for me, and I felt stupid watching this one, to be honest with you, because I, like, didn't know what was going on at all, obviously.
I I understand. I watched it for the first time whenever I was like 15 and
Mm.
I was like, "Wait, what?" And then like coming back to it again and again, you do pick up on like some little story threads that you want to focus on. Like Yannick and Vickers fucking what was that about? It was just like we have two very hot people in this film. We have to make them fuck. He says to her something like, you need to get laid. And
Oh.
she was like, "Oh yeah," and she's like, "Oh yeah, that's why I came 4 years away from every single man on Earth." And as she's leaving, he's like, Vickers, by the way, are you a robot?" And she's like, "My room, 10 minutes." Which that's flirting
See,
apparently in 2019.
I've it's gotta be, like, fucking, like, laid out for me to understand if people are flirting with each other. Someone's gotta be like, "Get the fuck in my room," otherwise, I'm like, "I don't know, it seems perfectly innocent to me." A little weird.
Did you like the cameo from one of the Warrens who was from The Conjuring, the
Okay,
guy?
which I wouldn't recognize any of them.
He's um he's Shaw's dad in the memory sequence that David
Okay,
watched.
okay, yeah, I don't remember, like, what that guy looks like. I hated those films, so
So yeah, it's a confusing introduction to the franchise. I'm
yeah.
sorry we started with this.
Well, I mean, I watched Alien, but, like, I watched Alien in the '90s, like,
Mm,
my mom watched it, and I remember watching it, and for me, I like spooky stuff, I like psychological stuff, I don't like, this is very much like battle, like, you're physically battling something, and
mhm.
especially with aliens, for me, that's just, like, overwhelming. It's like, "No way, you're not gonna" they're gonna outsmart you, they're gonna outgun you, like, you're just a stupid human, come on. That's my feeling with alien invasion stuff. That's why for a long time, like, I stayed the hell away from alien movies because of that, because it was just overwhelming to me.
In that case, like the fact that he went after Shaw after crashing his ship,
Mhm,
you're going after a human with an axe, barehanded. I want to blame hypersleep. I think he's like not quite well yet.
mm,
Kind of like they were throwing up after they had hypersleep as well.
mhm,
Yeah, so maybe he's not thinking straight, but then he gets a kiss from a squid baby. One of the lines I love in this, Shaw asks David what he's going to do when Wayland isn't around to program his mind anymore.
mhm,
And one of the things he replies with is, all children want to see their parents die, which is
mhm,
very telling because Shaw's relationship with her father is the only good relationship between creator and creation.
mhm,
Because the engineers fucking despise us for killing killing Jesus. Wayland despises Vickers. Vickers despises Wayland.
mhm,
David secretly wants Wayland to die, and he has that talk with Shaw's husband at the pool table, asking like, why do you want to know why you were created?" And he says, "'Cause, it's we want to know." And David asks, "Why do you think your people created me?" And the guy's only answer is, "Because we could." That's that's very as creation myths go, that's fucked up.
Yeah. Well, another thing is, I don't know, maybe I misinterpreted it, but after you explained more of like what was going on, so in the
Hmm.
beginning, when the engineer drinks that liquid and disintegrates, is that
Hmm.
like seeding Earth with life because his DNA is going
That's
into the water and then
that's seeding Earth with us. Like they
yeah.
do a genetic scan of the remains of the head and line it up with human, and it's the same DNA.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was wondering, and that's very interesting because in a lot of New Age thought and, like, some religious thought, uh, people are, like, pieces of God put,
Hmm.
into individual, like, human packages, right? So, it's very interesting that, like, he dissolves and disintegrates in order to make this whole race of people that kinda lines up, you know, philosophically with that idea, which is interesting. I think that they're playing with some interesting stuff here. I don't understand how it all comes back around together.
They, I watched a video that was talking about the philosophy of this film along with Alien Covenant, and it's like we might have got some answers if this trilogy was finished, but like
Oh,
the final film was cancelled in the trilogy.
okay.
Um, yeah, basically what happens in Covenant, because you'll not be on it.
Mm,
Shaw and David went to the engineer's homeworld, and
okay.
David dropped all of those bombs on them and destroyed them.
Damn, brutal.
And then he started bioengineering his xenomorphs.
Yeah, that lines up with what we know about David, so
Yup, yup. It's weird that the engineers would leave us a map to a military installation, though. Like
yeah.
how that's how they found it in the first place. They found the same star map like in 6 different places across like thousands of years. Larger gods pointing to a single star system, which was where they found this place.
But these were all, like, predating, biblical times. They were, like, Mesopotamia and stuff, right? So maybe at that point, they were still thinking they were gonna have a good relationship with humanity. It was just that the Romans it was the Romans' fault. Fucking
Jesus.
Romans, goddamn Romans. What
It
did the
was the
Romans ever do
Romans.
for us?
Sewers.
Hold on.
We're gonna get sued by John Cleese.
Hey, it was a keychain that did it, okay?
It was a
You sold me the
licensed product.
keychain. You sold me a licensed keychain that I happen to have in my desk drawer.
Nobody expects the engineers.
No, they don't, especially if they're, smooth boys with no pores. Like, I wish I could have inherited the, skincare, whatever, of this guy because he has no pores. Like,
we're
I
pretty we're pretty white.
well, no, I don't I'm not talking about the color, I'm talking about the texture, I wanna be a smooth. I
Yeah,
wanna be
yeah.
a
You
smooth
don't want to
boy.
be porcelain.
No, I mean, I'm already real close.
Yeah, me too. What was the stupidest moment to you, or like something that made you say, "What the fuck"? I mean, the whole film made you say, "What the fuck," but I mean, like in anger.
Like, in anger, I don't think there was anything that made me mad. Um, there's just a lot of things where I was like, "Did I see that? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. Fuck, I don't know."
My answer to that question is when Vickers is running away from a turning spaceship rather than standing out of the way of the spaceship.
Ah,
What the fuck? So in the later sequels in the Alien franchise, they had like a lot of characters like they did in the original, but they didn't really have a lot of personality. Um, which we'll get to when we talk about Aliens 3. I think they were trying to overcompensate with this film by giving everyone like a weird personality quirk.
yeah.
Like you've got the Scottish guy who like throws up the scanners and he calls them his pups and he does the wolf howl. Like my guy,
Yeah, that
why?
was a little weird.
And he's a geologist too. Like why is he obsessed with dogs or wolves?
Yeah.
Um, Yannick Yannick is the best character in this film, hands down.
Yeah. I mean, I do appreciate that they tried to make them different because a lot of times it's just like everyone's the same. Like there's just 500 old white men and I don't know the difference.
Hmm.
So
And
there's that
there's
that they did well. It is a little
the
corny, but that's the
mhm,
effect. If it's that or like not be able to tell any of them apart, I'm kind of gonna go with be corny.
introduction to aliens, you're just confused.
Yeah, yeah. I would say that coming out of this movie, my primary emotion is confusion. If I was
Mm.
going to give it chuds, if I was gonna rate it in chuds, which I haven't put it in my letterbox account yet, so I think maybe I don't know, 2 chuds. I didn't hate myself for watching this, but I wasn't engaged in it, so I'd put
Yeah.
it about at the 2 chud level.
I actually really like this film as much as it gets shit and like there are stupid decisions in it. I think there's a lot to talk about or think about in terms of creation myths and philosophy and that sort of
Mhm.
thing. But also like how religion is used. Like Shaw takes back her father's cross even though she has just found out that, there are no gods, these are our gods.
Yeah.
And I think that's less about because she's not angry at the engineers by the end. She just wants to know why. She thinks she deserves to know why they wanted to kill us.
Mhm.
I think taking that cross back is less a kind of like, this is a symbol of my hatred for you, and more like, this is a symbol of the unknown
Yeah.
that she carries with her.
I mean,
Because in her
even if
final
these
monologue,
bitches are creators, somebody created them.
mhm, that is true, yeah, yeah. And she does say in her final monologue, she says, "The year of our Lord 2090," because they land on Christmas Day, she leaves on New Year's Day.
Mhm.
They're there like a week, and all this
Oh,
shit
wow.
goes down.
Wow, I did not realize that. Holy shit. It was a week's that whole long movie, okay.
Why did they have, sorry, going off topic, why did they have champagne aboard a research vessel?
I
Like, I
don't know.
understand Vickers having it, but like, why? I don't know.
Well, the old man, you know, was
Frozen,
there. Maybe it was to celebrate when he got, like, cured by the
the
smooth man
engineers.
and became, a young boy again, you know, it was to celebrate his return to youth, his adrenochrome or whatever that was getting, you know which if I would just hope, like, no matter what these smooth boys turn out to be, like, kill the old man, like, just kill the old
Yeah,
capitalist no matter what, like,
Whelan did not deserve to live.
no.
Well, I appreciated that most of the crew were like international
Mm,
almost. You had the Scottish Dr. Ford, you had Benedict Wong flying the ship, you had Yannick doing or you had Idris Elba doing a Yank accent,
mhm,
and then you have Shaw, who's this weird English mix of something.
mm.
Um, but the one Northern Irish accent I heard in this film was the guy with the flamethrower. And I was like, that is stereotyping, and I do not appreciate it. Yes, we have car bombs, okay? That doesn't mean all of us know how to use flamethrowers.
Well, over here in America, Elon Musk sells us flamethrowers, so take it
Elon
a
Musk
different way.
wouldn't pay for this expedition. He
He
just
would,
wouldn't.
like, the old man is like Elon Musk in the future for sure, because this is exactly the type of shit he'd be up to.
And posting it on Twitter while he did. So that's it for Prometheus. Next week is Alien Covenant, which takes place about 20 years after this. If you enjoy this podcast and you want to listen to us, you can follow us on Twitter at GITM Podcast. You can also find us at our website, which is
Goes to the magazine.site, and that will have a link to our YouTube channel as well, which is newish at this point.
that's right. We have a YouTube channel now. So if you want to see Elle's pretty face and my ugly mug, you can go over there. And in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at @JRobertyPoet.
And you can follow me at Nocturnical.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.